Never ask a woman what she brings to the table. Yes, the women are right. There's been an ongoing debate over the past several months, years maybe at this point, where men are asking women, what do you bring to the table? We do this in an attempt to flip the script because it's a question that's often asked of us. As men, when we approach women, they ask, what do you bring to the table? And typically, as men, we're required to quantify what value it is that we might add to a woman's life. So, is it that we're going to provide for her financially? Do we bring status? Do we bring looks? Do we bring a family name? What is it that we bring that would invite a woman to consider us as a potential mate? Now, men understand this, and we work very hard to improve our situation, improve our career prospects, improve our education prospects, or we might hit the gym and try to get fit. And there's all kinds of websites dedicated to giving men advice on how to make themselves more attractive to a woman. We understand that essentially seeking a woman out is like trying to get a job. You have to present yourself as ideal enough for a woman to want to consider you. And typically her considerations will be based on what tangible things you bring to her table. So for men, the question of what do we bring to the table, it's not controversial. We understand. However, over the years, we've decided that maybe it's time to flip the tables around and ask the women, speaking of tables, what it is that they bring to the table. Why should we consider dating them or marrying them or entering into partnerships with them? Why only ask us what we bring to the table? How about you? What do you bring to the table? And to this, I say it's not a question men should be asking. And before you accuse me of being a simp about this, maybe running cover for women, maybe making it so that women don't have to bring anything of value for us to consider. Typically, a woman believes that she herself, as who she is in her natural state, should be sufficient for a man to want to be with her. Why should she have to explain what it is she brings to the table? Can't you just see how wonderful and amazing she is? Her amazingness, her presence is what she brings. She need not explain herself further than that. Now, if you're approaching the conversation from the calculus of, well, as a man, I'm supposed to bring tangible value, so it should be fair for a woman to also bring tangible value. Women don't like that question because they think that makes you cheap as a man. Don't ask her what she brings to the table. Ask what you might bring to the table for her. If I may play around with a John F. Kennedy quote. The point as to why it's pointless to ask a woman what she brings to the table is not because we need to value her for what she is. I think the real answer to that question is this. It should be apparent what she brings to the table. By simply observing a woman, it should be obvious to you who's interested in her, whether or not she brings anything of value that might be of interest to you. Do you need a woman to tell you that she's a kind and compassionate woman? Do you need a woman to tell you that she is a good cook? Do you need a woman to tell you that she is godly, if those are attributes you're seeking out in a woman? Do you need a woman to tell you that she is well behaved and that she is not promiscuous? See, all these are things that should be apparent if you spent even just 5 minutes trying to study the woman. I'm going to assume that when you approach a woman, you would have spent some time trying to learn about her. Let's say you meet her in a social setting. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's someone from your church or someone from your community, or maybe you met at a bar or at a conference. All right, you probably would have spent some time observing her, right? You didn't just look at her wearing a nice dress and go, that's it, she's the one I'm going to pursue. No, first of all, you probably, obviously noticed how she looked. And once she crossed that threshold, you're like, all right, what else is it about her that might be interesting? And so you observed her. And then you tried to study how she interacts with people around her. You observed how she carried herself, how she spoke, what she spoke about. And then over time, if you got to know her, like in a non-romantic way, assuming this is someone you would have the chance to interact with frequently, you can then know what her principles are. Is she a hardworking person? Is she responsible? Is her life in order? How does she interact with other men? Is she overly flirtatious? Is she constantly signaling interest in other men? Is she promiscuous? Does she have a past? Like, all these are things you can establish before you even declare your more serious intentions to the woman, right? and let's say you're able to take her out on a date. All right. How does she present herself at that date? Is she courteous and polite with you? Is she courteous and polite with the staff at the restaurant where you've taken her out to? Does she respect the waiters? Does she speak to them respectfully? Or does she act as though, she's a queen bee and that, everyone should worship the ground that she walks on? Does she seem uninterested in you as a person, the things that you are interested in? Does she pay attention when you are speaking? Does she show gratitude after you've taken her out on a date? Do you know of her as being someone that likes to party a lot? Like, all these are things you can find the answers to without her having to tell you, which is why it's kind of a moot point, because all the qualities in a woman that you want should be readily apparent when you observe that woman for a period of time. And beyond that, if you have to ask her what it is that she brings to the table, even if she were to give you a list of qualities that you might feel are desirable, she could be lying. She could be lying to you. She, if she's smart enough, will have done her homework, would have studied you, understood what your interests are, what your passions are, what your principles are, and might modify her behavior in her interactions with you in order to present herself as being a more desirable person. Or perhaps she might tell you what it is that you want to hear. And so you're like, wow, she maybe likes going to church. She works hard. She's likes being at home, doesn't like to party. These are the things she told me. So therefore, I should choose her to be my woman. She satisfied the conditions for being my woman. But hey, she could have just been lying the whole time. And yeah, I did also mention that in studying you, she might decide that she's going to act in ways that she thinks might conform to what your expectations are. And maybe that in a way kind of challenges the point I made about how you can simply tell whether a woman is worthy or not by observing her. You're right. She could pretend to be what she is not. There's that also. So it's one of those things where you kind of just have to go in with an open mind, but to constantly keep one eye open at all times to ensure that the woman that's presenting herself as good for you isn't just faking it. Because a lot of these ladies can switch up on a guy. Like, they can act as though they are the ideal woman, and then after enough time has passed, after they feel they've secured you, maybe after you've proposed marriage to them and have got her married to them, now they are your wife, you're living together, then maybe she can just be her real nasty self, and there you are stuck with a woman that you probably wouldn't have wanted. Wow. I actually came in to this conversation thinking that I would be able to suggest to you a foolproof way of knowing that she might be good for you. And I thought that asking her what she brought to the table would probably not be very useful because she could lie about it. But guess what? She could also pretend to be what she is not by simply assuming that these are qualities that she might be seeking. So in a way, you kind of still have to do your homework, You have to just keep paying attention to her behavior. My own policy is to essentially play by ear. I basically will mirror a woman's behavior towards me. I treat her as well, or I will treat her as well as she treats me. And once her treatment of me changes over a period of time, then I adjust my investments in the situation accordingly. So if she's going to be rude to me or she's going to disrespect me, now I'm not going to have an argument about it, but I'm probably just going to silently withdraw my attention and my interest. And usually that's a signal to her to act right and to be better so that she can regain my interest, and then I can start to invest more in her. Or if she thinks she has better options, she might just decide to exit the relationship altogether once she senses that I'm withdrawing attention. In any case, that's definitely a better outcome than you hanging around with a woman that's probably not right for you. Better to cut your losses early so that you can proceed to look for someone better. I think women fundamentally are human beings, as are men, and no one is perfect. And even if they may act in a way that you think is good, and this leads you into a relationship or wanting a relationship with them, there's no telling if they're going to keep that up or if they'll switch up and become a different person. Now, obviously, that's not going to be a good situation for you. So you kind of just have to approach these situations with an open-ended approach, like where you're like, okay, for as long as she's good, I'll be good. And once she starts acting funny, that'll be my cue to walk out the door. And really, I can't think of a better way of handling it.